Ozzy Osbourne's wife Sharon needs our prayers. It's like her heart has been taken from her chest. Sharon Osbourne breaks down after Ozzy Osbourne's final farewell. Fans in shock. The world is mourning the loss of a true rock legend. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76, and his wife Sharon is left shattered, saying it feels like her heart has been ripped from her chest. In this emotional tribute, we look back at the life, legacy, and final moments of the Prince of Darkness. From Black Sabbath to his unforgettable solo career, Ozzy changed music forever. But now, the spotlight fades, and Sharon needs our prayers more than ever. The world has grown quieter. The howling, the chaos, the thunderous riffs that once electrified stadiums have given way to a harrowing silence. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, the unbreakable spirit of heavy metal, has taken his final bow. At 76, the man who defied death, danced with demons, and redefined rock and roll for generations, is gone. And in the wake of his departure, a woman stands alone, shattered by the weight of loss. Sharon Osbourne, his partner, his protector, his everything, now faces a world without Ozzy. And by her own words, it feels as though her heart has been ripped from her chest. It wasn't just a marriage. It was a battle-tested bond that stood through addiction, fame, betrayal, redemption, and every unimaginable headline. Sharon Osbourne didn't just love Ozzy, she built his empire, fought his demons beside him, and, in the end, held his hand as he slipped away. For decades, their names were spoken in the same breath. Sharon and Ozzy. Rock and reality. Chaos and control. And now, with Ozzy gone, Sharon has lost far more than a husband. She's lost her soulmate, her compass, her reason. The final moments were a quiet contrast to the madness that defined his life. In a private hospital room tucked away in California, surrounded by his closest family members, Ozzy took his last breath. No screaming fans. No roaring stage lights. Just the soft hum of machines and the choked sobs of the woman who had kept him alive for so long. Sharon sat by his side, clutching his hand, whispering memories only they shared. "Don't go yet," she reportedly murmured, her voice trembling. "Just a little longer. Please, Ozzy, don't go." But he was already slipping. The same man who once bit the head off a bat on stage, who toured the world with unrelenting fury, who survived overdoses and scandals and public meltdowns, his body had finally given out. His final days were spent not in the headlines, but in love. Their children Amy, Kelly, and Jack took turns sitting by his bedside. Each spoke to him like he could still hear. Kelly, his rock star daughter, was said to be inconsolable. Jack, the son who once filmed his father's chaos for reality TV, now filmed nothing. He simply held his father's other hand and prayed. And Amy, who famously avoided the spotlight, reportedly broke her silence just once. He was more than a legend. He was our dad. The cause of death, though not publicly detailed, is said to be complications from his long battle with Parkinson's disease and other ongoing health issues. Ozzy had been in and out of hospitals in the past year, enduring multiple surgeries, mobility issues, and chronic pain. He had spoken candidly about the toll it took, not just physically, but mentally. "I'm not the same man," he once admitted. "But I'm still Ozzy." That identity, that fire, never faded until now. And now Sharon is speaking out. Not in press conferences, not on her usual panel shows, but through a statement so raw, so gut-wrenching, that it has sent fans into collective mourning. "He was my everything," she wrote. "My love. My life. My chaos. My calm. My best friend. I don't know how to breathe without him. It feels like my heart has been ripped from my chest." The woman who once managed his career with an iron grip, who took on music executives and reality television with unshakable resolve, now sounds utterly broken. This wasn't just grief, it was devastation. Social media exploded with messages of support. Fans from every corner of the world shared tributes, clips, and memories of Ozzy's unparalleled career. But amidst the tributes came a common thread: prayers for Sharon. #PrayForSharon began trending within hours of the news breaking. Celebrities, musicians, and even political figures issued condolences not just for Ozzy's passing, but for the woman left behind. "I always thought Ozzy was indestructible," one fan wrote. "But it's Sharon I worry about now. She was his strength. Who will be hers?" Another posted, "She kept him alive for decades. She gave him everything. Now she's alone. She needs us." Indeed, Sharon's role in Ozzy's life cannot be overstated. Without her, there would be no Ozzy as we know him. After his firing from Black Sabbath in 1979, he was lost, strung out, suicidal, and directionless. It was Sharon who picked up the pieces. She believed in his talent, took control of his career, and helped launch his wildly successful solo run. She was his manager, his fiercest defender, and sometimes the only person who could stand up to him. Through rehab stints, relapses, near-death experiences, and public humiliation, she stood by his side. And when others gave up on him, Sharon only tightened her grip. Even their reality show, The Osbournes, which became a cultural phenomenon in the early 2000s, was Sharon's doing. She understood the power of vulnerability, of letting fans see the chaos and love that defined their home. And in doing so, she turned Ozzy from a rock god into a relatable, stumbling, mumbling, lovable dad. The show didn't just revive his career, it humanized him. And it made millions fall in love with the entire family. But behind the scenes, their life was anything but glamorous. Sharon once revealed in an interview that every day was a battle to keep Ozzy alive. "There were nights I'd stay up just to make sure he was breathing," she said. "I've cleaned up after his overdoses, driven him to rehab, hidden his pills. But I never stopped loving him. Never." And now, the silence is deafening. Sharon has always been a force of nature, opinionated, outspoken, often controversial. But today, there is no fire in her voice. No commentary. Just a woman stripped bare, mourning the loss of her soulmate. Her recent appearance at a private memorial service was heartbreaking. Dressed in black, her face hidden behind sunglasses, Sharon looked like a ghost of the woman the world once knew. Friends say she hasn't been eating, barely sleeping, and refuses to speak for long. She just sits in his chair sometimes, one insider revealed. Staring at the wall. Not crying. Just gone. The Osbourne children are reportedly rallying around their mother, taking turns staying with her, bringing her meals, and gently encouraging her to speak. But even they admit they've never seen her this way. "We lost our dad," Jack was overheard saying. "But she lost her other half. And I don't know how we bring her back from that." Ozzy's death has not only robbed the world of a musical titan, it has ripped a family apart at its core. And while the tributes continue to pour in from around the globe, tributes from Metallica, Guns N' Roses, even former Black Sabbath bandmates, the most gut-wrenching messages come from Sharon's closest circle. "She doesn't need flowers or cameras," a longtime friend wrote. "She needs peace. And prayer. And time. She's been strong for so long. Let her break." There's an eerie stillness in the Osbourne household now. The walls that once echoed with Ozzy's ramblings, laughter, and loud music are silent. His chair by the window remains untouched. His guitar, the one he always insisted on tuning himself even though his hands trembled, now leans quietly in the corner. His scent still lingers in the hallway. But the man is gone. And Sharon. Sharon is lost in the emptiness. Let us not forget that behind every rock legend is often a woman who gave everything. Sharon Osbourne was that woman. And now, in her darkest hour, she's not asking for anything. Not fame. Not pity. Just prayers. The world owes her that much. In the days following Ozzy Osbourne's passing, the Osbourne estate in Los Angeles transformed from a vibrant center of activity to a place of hushed reverence. The gates remained closed. Paparazzi swarmed the perimeter, hoping for a glimpse, but none came. What used to be a house of noise and unfiltered chaos, dogs barking, laughter booming, Ozzy's erratic mutterings and spontaneous guitar riffs, was now a house of mourning. Friends who visited described the atmosphere as suffocating. Sharon wasn't just grieving. She was unraveling. And yet, somehow, she still found the strength to release one more message to Ozzy's fans. In a deeply emotional video shared through a family representative, Sharon sat in front of a dimly lit fireplace, her hands trembling, her eyes red. There was no makeup, no stage, no pretense. Just a widow trying to find words where none seemed strong enough. "He gave you everything," she whispered to the world. "He gave his soul on stage, night after night. And in return, you gave him a reason to keep going when life tried to take him away. Thank you for loving him. Thank you for standing by him when he couldn't stand on his own." The footage went viral instantly. Fans who had grown up on Ozzy's music, who saw him as untouchable, now saw him as human, mortal. And the woman who once seemed untouchable herself was now laid bare in her vulnerability. Messages poured in from all corners of the globe. From South America to Europe, from Japan to South Africa, rock fans, fellow musicians, and ordinary people sent love, flowers, and prayers, not just in honor of Ozzy, but in support of Sharon. Musicians who once shared the stage with Ozzy began stepping forward with tributes of their own. Slash from Guns N' Roses called Ozzy a wild hurricane in leather and eyeliner who never lost his soul. Corey Taylor of Slipknot admitted, "Without Ozzy, I wouldn't be here. That man made it okay to be dark, weird, and loud." Even Elton John, who once shared an unlikely friendship with the Osbournes, released a heartfelt statement. Ozzy was chaos, but Sharon was the calm. Together, they were unstoppable. I ache for her. But no tribute struck as deep as the one from Tony Iommi, Ozzy's longtime bandmate and fellow co-founder of Black Sabbath. In a private service, he was seen embracing Sharon tightly, whispering something into her ear that made her break down sobbing on his shoulder. Later, Tony released a letter, handwritten and scanned to social media, which read, "We were brothers, Sharon. And though the music we made was loud and wild, there was no louder love than what you two shared. I don't know if I ever told you this, but he always said you saved him. You were his light in all that darkness. And perhaps that's the truth that hurts the most." Sharon wasn't just Ozzy's manager or his wife, she was his lifeline. Time and time again, she pulled him back from the brink. Through cocaine binges that nearly killed him. Through relapses that destroyed tours. Through mental breakdowns that brought their family to the edge. She was always there. Always fighting. Always believing in a man the world had given up on. And now, for the first time in over 40 years, there's no one for her to save. Privately, those close to Sharon admit that she is struggling to find purpose. "She wakes up and doesn't know what to do," said a close friend. Her entire life revolved around him, keeping him safe, managing his business, cleaning up his messes, loving him even when he didn't love himself. Now, that purpose is gone. The Osbourne family has announced plans for a public memorial where fans can pay their respects. It's set to take place in Birmingham, England, Ozzy's hometown and the birthplace of Black Sabbath. Sharon insisted on it. "He always loved Birmingham," she said. "It was where it all began. He would have wanted his people to say goodbye." Preparations are underway for what many are calling the final Sabbath. A massive stage is being constructed in the city center, adorned with black roses, candles, and banners celebrating Ozzy's life. Rumors are circulating that a tribute concert is also in the works, featuring some of rock's biggest names playing Ozzy's most iconic songs. But Sharon has remained mostly silent about the details. "Let the fans have their moment," she told organizers. "I already had mine. I said goodbye when he took his last breath." But it's clear Sharon hasn't truly said goodbye. Not yet. Those who've spoken to her say she often walks into Ozzy's studio, touches his guitars, and stares at the gold records on the walls. She leaves food out by mistake, forgetting he's not there to eat it. She calls out his name in her sleep. Grief, they say, has a way of playing tricks on the heart. And for Sharon, who has lived every day of the past 4 decades with Ozzy at the center of her world, the loss is more than emotional, it's existential. Still, the world watches. And prays. Because while we all mourn the legend who gave us Crazy Train, Iron Man, and Mama, I'm Coming Home, Sharon is mourning the man who gave her everything. Her partner in madness. her muse, her hurricane, her peace. In one especially heartbreaking revelation, a family friend disclosed that just days before Ozzy's passing, he had written a final note to Sharon, shaky, barely legible, but full of love. The note read, "Shaz, if I go before you, don't stop living. I'll be waiting. You were my only salvation. I'll always be yours. Love, Oz." Sharon reportedly keeps the note in her purse, folded between two worn family photos. It's all she has left. It's rare to see a love story as messy, enduring, and powerful as theirs. Most wouldn't survive the fame, the addiction, the betrayals, and the chaos. But theirs did. And now, with Ozzy gone, Sharon faces the cruelest chapter yet, living without him. As the days pass and the headlines begin to fade, we must not forget the woman who gave so much to a man the world adored. Sharon Osbourne is not just the widow of a rock legend, she's a grieving wife, a heartbroken mother, and a warrior slowly laying down her armor. And now she needs us. She needs the world to lift her up the way she lifted Ozzy. Not with applause, not with praise, but with quiet, unwavering prayer. Because even the strongest warriors fall. And when they do, they deserve to be carried. In the weeks that followed Ozzy Osbourne's death, Sharon Osbourne began to vanish from public life. Her once busy schedule, talk shows, charity appearances, guest panels, interviews, was wiped clean. No makeup artists arrived in the mornings. No stylists came through the doors. The chatter in the Osbourne household, once dominated by business calls and tour negotiations, had gone silent. Her team respected the void, too heartbroken to press her into anything. Those who did manage to speak with her say she barely whispers, and when she does, it's mostly about him. About Ozzy. Sometimes, one longtime assistant shared, she talks like he's still in the room. She'll say things like, "Ozzy wouldn't like this painting," or "Let's not move that chair. That's where Ozzy always Saturday." And you don't dare correct her. You just nod and let her speak. At 71, Sharon Osbourne has faced more storms than most. Cancer, public backlash, family scandal. And through it all, she remained a razor-tongued matriarch. But this is different. This is the one wound she can't seem to walk away from. And it's left the world wondering, what happens when the woman who carried a legend finally breaks? Grief, like music, has movements. And Sharon's grief is playing out like a dirge, slow, deep, and soul-piercing. She doesn't cry publicly. Instead, she disappears into old videos. Late at night, staff have found her curled up in Ozzy's massive leather recliner, watching old concert footage from the 80s. Footage of Ozzy screaming into microphones, stage diving into swarms of fans, losing himself in the music. Sharon watches in silence, her eyes vacant, as if trying to reach back through the screen and touch the man who used to sleep beside her. And then there are the moments when it all becomes too much. One close friend, who visited a week after the memorial in Birmingham, described walking into the Osbourne home and hearing something unexpected, Sharon screaming. It wasn't a scream of rage. It was a scream of emptiness, they said. Like something inside her finally shattered. It is a pain only those who have loved at such intensity can understand. Because Sharon didn't just love Ozzy, she became part of him. Their lives were stitched together in every way that mattered, emotionally, professionally, spiritually. And now, with him gone, she's not just grieving a death. She's grieving the loss of identity, of purpose, of self. Kelly Osbourne, ever the rock for her family, recently stepped up to speak on her mother's behalf. In a rare interview with a British radio station, she said, "Mum is surviving. But she's not the same. None of us are. Dad was our center of gravity. He was chaos, but he was also comfort. And for Mum, he was everything." When asked what people could do to support her, Kelly didn't ask for flowers or fan tributes. She simply said, "Pray. Just pray for her heart to heal. It's broken in ways I don't even have words for." The fans have responded. Outside their Los Angeles estate, candles and messages still appear daily. Notes tucked into the gate. Drawings from children. Guitars left with scribbled signatures. One message stood out, written in black ink on a faded ticket stub from a 1996 Ozzy concert. It read, "He saved my life. Please save hers." And in many ways, that's the unspoken hope shared by millions of fans, that the same community who kept Ozzy alive through their adoration might now carry Sharon through her darkest days. Because she carried Ozzy through his. Through the lowest points of his addiction, Sharon was the one making late-night phone calls to rehab centers. She was the one finding him passed out in bathrooms, reviving him, screaming at him, loving him. There were moments when Ozzy didn't want to live, when the fame had chewed him up and the drugs had hollowed him out. And every time, it was Sharon who found him, held him, fought for him. And now there's no one left to fight for, no one to save. A quiet tragedy lingers in the air of their home, a tragedy of stillness. Ozzy's final album, Patient Number 9, which was meant to be a swan song, now plays softly through the house most days. Sharon reportedly keeps it on a loop. One of the tracks, Nothing Feels Right, features lyrics that feel almost prophetic now. "I don't know what's real or what I'm fighting for. You say it's over, but nothing feels right anymore." Sharon once said those lyrics scared her when she first heard them. It was like he was already saying goodbye, she told a friend. And now, those words echo through the halls he once stormed through barefoot, half-naked, muttering about misplaced remotes and missing cats. But life, as cruel as it can be, marches on. Offers have begun trickling in: documentary specials, tribute concerts, book deals, talk show appearances. All centered around Ozzy's death. All promising to honor his legacy. But Sharon refuses them all. "This isn't about legacy right now," she reportedly said. "It's about loss." Still, there's a sense that something must eventually rise from the ashes. That Sharon, the woman who built an empire out of chaos, might one day rise again, not for money, not for fame, but for healing. And perhaps, one day, she will share her story. Not as a